Good evening, good morning, and good day. A very warm welcome to you all to this episode in a series of webinars from global e-commerce experts. Thank you very much for joining us. All the time here at GEE, we're asked over and over again, clients who are beginning their expansion journey into the UK and the EU, what's your number one launch strategy? What's the silver bullet? How do you just tell me what to do to launch my brand into the UK and the EU? So we thought we'd take a few moments to start to detail what that might look like for different businesses and perhaps the route to how we're going to get there. So through the journey of the UK marketplaces and its alternatives, EU marketplaces and alternatives, because of course, and I'll reiterate as we do week after week, of course the UK, although part of Europe, is no longer, after Brexit, part of the EU, which has complicated e-commerce a little bit. E-commerce was very comfortable with the UK being part of the EU, but that's no longer the case, and now we've had to make some strategic and operational changes to maintain a neat flow. So we'll touch on those things, and then at the end of this slide, we'll give you the blueprint for what GE currently, May 2021, considers the kind of number one launch strategy for e-commerce businesses into the UK and EU. So a bit about me. My name's Ricky Hooker. I'm the general manager here at GE. I've got 25, this is 2 decades, 25 years international trade expansion, building businesses in both the UK, in Europe, and in North America, both e-commerce and otherwise. So well positioned here to assist all of our clients with their expansion journeys. My details are at the end of the slides here today, and I'd be very happy to personally help you through journeys in expanding your businesses. All of the webinars that GE create revolve around GE's well-trodden path, our 6-step guide. This is the matrix that we show all clients, that we help lead them and handhold them to whatever extent that they wish or feel that they want to through the journey of expanding their e-commerce business into the European market. It starts, of course, with the early stages of compliance, both in terms of tax and product compliance. It involves a marketplace launch, and that's the part that we're going to talk about this evening. It involves launching in multiple different countries. It involves how you're going to fulfill your goods, because you're thousands of miles from home, perhaps. Even if you're in Europe, it's in the UK and you're launching in Europe, you still could be 1,000 miles from home. So there's obviously lots of implications there when it comes to how you fulfill your goods, how you get them into the area, and of course, what happens if you have to take them back. So the 6-step journey has helped now thousands and thousands of e-commerce sellers expand their business in a well-proven, well-trodden path. Today's episode will cover the lion's share of these pieces in small detail. Some of our other webinars touch on one individual piece of this, but today we're going to talk broadly about the fastest route through the middle of that line. So whereas a seller, for instance, in the US might have a relatively limited choice when it comes to e-commerce marketplaces dominated by Amazon, Europe is a slightly different beast. In Europe, there are multiple platforms beyond Amazon, although Amazon is a dominant force in both the UK and Germany, amongst others. There are other more country-specific platforms which are more dominant in those countries. So it's important to consider that as you launch throughout Europe, whilst you might start with Amazon, there's other places to go to give you a complete coverage of the European e-commerce market in terms of platforms and marketplaces. Some of them are slightly product niche based, say furniture or boutique type goods, and we'll touch on what those are very slightly. But deciding on which this is the best for you is the first step to your cross-border expansion, because of course, if you want to get the benefit of the full stretch of Europe, which could double or triple even, depending on where you are based, your potential audience, you must consider the capacity to go beyond the Amazon start point. And of course, Amazon is the largest marketplace across the region. Of course, we all see and know that Amazon is regionally a very, very strong place to begin. And of course, you'll see later on in our recommendations, Amazon is the start point. Amazon is the place that you will need to go to establish your presence. There's strong activity in the UK and Germany, and of course, well established presence in France, Italy, and Spain. And more recently, Amazon has launched marketplaces in the Netherlands, in Poland, and in Sweden. It is the go-to platform to start selling on. There's a huge customer base, limitless categories, and if you can sell whatever you want, wherever you're selling anything, anywhere else in the world, one way, shape, or form, you'll find a degree of success with it in the right way using Amazon. But with that comes other challenges, of course, because with that comes a saturation of sellers, especially through the course of 2021, when an enormous influx of sellers, both offline sellers who came into e-commerce and new startups have entered the market. So it's become highly competitive and is a very complex environment in which to trade. We'll talk, and we have talked at length, of course, about Amazon in its particularly in the past, and we will do in the future, being so dominant. Today is to explore slightly further afield than that. For the UK, there's actually quite a lot of choice. For the UK, of course, eBay is a strong candidate. OnBuy is the fastest growing UK marketplace and will, I'm sure, become a dominant force feature across the world, with massive, very fast expansion plans for OnBuy. Well worth a look currently. Wayfair is an important one to add for slightly larger goods or furniture, for instance. Etsy is a boutique-based marketplace for vintage or handmade items and craft supplies. And these items fall under a wide range of categories, including jewelry, bags, clothing, home decor, that type of stuff, tools. They have quite low fees, 5% transaction fee, and you don't have to pay those fees until you sell an item. There's a small commission and standard processing fees. So I think something like Etsy makes a lot of sense for handmade or personally created items. Not on the high street is a gift-based specialist seller. Again, slightly more boutique than the larger marketplaces, slightly more like Etsy. And finally, Frugo is another option for UK sellers, which integrates to some for your own selling website platforms as well. So from the UK perspective, there's multiple options in terms of what to do and where to go beyond Amazon that might suit the types of products that you're selling. And it's well worth doing the research on that as and before you enter the market. When it comes to Europe itself, we're in a different situation altogether. For Europe, Amazon's not necessarily the dominant force. For instance, in France, Cdiscount, founded in 1998, it's been around for a long time, is the leading French e-commerce platform. It has something like 11 million unique visitors a month and 10,000 plus active sellers, multiple product categories. So you've got a huge amount of scope there to access the French market over and above, in all honesty, Amazon, although Amazon is growing quickly within France. For Germany, Otto is the second biggest online retail destination after Amazon. They have 9 million active buyers and is absolutely the biggest e-commerce opportunity after Amazon. It does require a minimum of 100 product lines, but is a really important additional way of accessing the German market. And of course, it's homegrown. So it's something which has a lot of strong allegiance from the German market. Same thing for the Netherlands. Amazon is not fully yet fully established in the Netherlands, but it's a very strong e-commerce market. And typically, up until last year, of course, before there was a marketplace in the Netherlands, the Dutch buyers would draw in their goods from Amazon France, or indeed Amazon Germany, more importantly. Amazon.nl is now running, although it's distributed from outside the country for the time being. Very soon will be managed from within the country, but it has its own platform, and it handles Belgium and the Netherlands. So we are talking about millions of additional users here. BOL.com is currently the leading marketplace within the Netherlands, over and above Amazon. It operates in a similar way because it sells directly to consumers, as well as it's a marketplace for other online retailers, so you can list products from other markets as well. It has around 20,000 active sellers and around 15 million products around, across its categories. But if we have our warehouse in the Netherlands, and if we talk to our staff about buying things online, one of the first places they'll check is bol.com. Amazon's also has an active marketplace in Poland, but within Poland, Allegro is the dominant force. Came to existence in 1999 as an auction site, but it's no longer an auction model. All the products are now a price fixed. Has access to 125,000+ merchants, 21 million-ish accounts. So it's a very popular place to go, and it has both secondhand and new items, a bit like eBay. Around 80% of Polish buyers consider Allegro as their preferred brand for e-commerce at home. So you'll see, you get the gist that there's a world beyond beyond Amazon, and it gives you multiple bites of the same cherry. Finally, Zalando is a huge retail phenomenon across Europe, predominantly in Germany, but also with fulfillment centers in Sweden and Belgium. Has 20 million active buyers. Really important to have looked at all of the regionally strong platforms in each country and consider how you can maximize your effort and workload in terms of setup in comparison to getting access to the market. What's most important here is it's not just on Amazon. The other thing that we mustn't forget within this part of the discussion is your own web store. Very commonly across the world, e-commerce sellers will sell both from their own store and from Amazon. If you don't, there's a real opportunity to create your own web store for direct sales. Just because you're selling in a different continent doesn't mean that you can't continue to take orders and fulfill those orders, but you will need to have a route to be able to fulfill that stock, which we'll talk about in the launch strategy very shortly. Next slide, please. So let's talk about that strategy. Let's talk about the way in which that might happen. Every seller has a different journey. No one journey is going to be the same, and so what's quite important is to think about the way in which you want to take to market, the impact that you want to have, the resources that you have, and therefore, how big are you in your how big is your business in your home country. If you're not selling a decent amount in your home country, then thinking about an international distribution strategy or growing your brand into another country is probably a bit early, because what you need to do is to be fully established and comfortable with sales in your home country online, both direct to consumer and via a platform, preferably, before you start considering doing so in another country. Trading online in another country brings with it cost, complexity, and of course, you're already busy with your existing business. You're already busy operating the successful model that you already have. So it's not just a case of doubling your audience. There is a significant resource and time drain that comes with that. Now, of course, you could consider that you could subcontract that to an agency. So you could consider that investment to go elsewhere, and they may well fast track that for you. All of these things will be considerations in terms of the right time and what to do. So let's talk a little bit about the actual GE suggested #1 launch strategy at the moment. This is the bit that everyone's been waiting for. Somebody emailed me earlier on today and said, could you just send me the right slide that I need, because I just need that one slide. So listen, here it is. This is this is 5 years and thousands of e-commerce businesses, Brexit, multiple warehouses in different countries, numerous different platform launches for countless businesses, and thousands and thousands and thousands of stored pallets in our third-party logistics facilities, both here in the EU. This is what it turns out to. Now, for some sellers, of course, that this won't be the right route, but we've put this together as an unlimited resource within reason, because the investment is the investment doesn't change dramatically, but an organization that's not limited by cash flow resources, capacity to fund additional stock, capacity to ship that stock in the right kind of volumes to be able to fulfill multiple marketplaces, and with all of the other wherewithal to make this happen. So how does this look? What does this look like? Well, you'd start with the first part of the journey. You need to get compliant. You need this top 3 points are compliance based. Before you can do anything else, you need to get registered. Our recommendation is to get registered for the UK, the Netherlands, and German VAT. Why? Well, the UK and Germany are the biggest marketplaces for Amazon. And as you'll see, the 4th point there, that's where we're going to start. So to launch for the UK and the German market gives us European penetration, and we also need to register for VAT in the Netherlands. By having VAT in the Netherlands, it allows us to store our stock and import our stock into the most agreeable point within Europe to bring our stock into the EU. With our VAT numbers, we'll also have not really tax registered, we'll also have what's called an EORI number, which is our federal tax registration number, one for the EU and one for the UK. That comes with your registration for VAT. So that gets you tax compliant. The next thing you need to do is product compliance. So for the UK and the EU, you need to appoint a responsible person. I did a whole webinar on this the week before last. If anyone's interested in it, please get in touch. It was one of the highest attended webinars we've ever done. It's obviously a hot topic at the moment. But you need to get your product compliance set up. That means that you need to have a person within the EU and the UK, or an organization, not a person, an organization within those two places that acts on your behalf as a responsible person. They store one of your goods in case they need to be scrutinized by authorities, and they are the address that you put on your products. So your products needs to have an address within those jurisdictions that shows and is the go-to place in case of if any organization needs to check it. To get to that point, you need to have the labels on your products checked to make sure that they're compliant. That's part of the responsible person service. So once you've got your products compliant and your tax compliant remotely from wherever you are at home, the next thing is you need to be able to get your goods into the country. You need someone to ship it, and really importantly, because you may already have a shipper, really importantly, you need a customs clearance agent to indirectly represent you into the country, most likely. not always, but most of the time, indirectly represent you to clear your goods through customs into the UK and the EU. And I'm saying those separately because, much like responsible person, you need one for the EU and you need one for the UK. Once you've done that, congratulations, you're good to trade. You can begin getting set up on the marketplaces. Everything from here is a home run, because everything from here is stuff that you're already experienced in and you've already done. To begin with, we recommend trading on Amazon. We recommend trading on Amazon in the UK, Amazon in Germany, and of course, you'll be able to trade in Netherlands. You will, of course, be able to sell your goods across Europe via the Netherlands up to the tax thresholds in each of the other countries that you've not yet registered for VAT. So through the first sort of 6 to 9 months, you can sell across Europe, and your tax agent will keep in touch with you to let you know which places you will need to begin registering for next. Later this year, excitedly, the tax regulations change so that you won't need to do that. That's actually a different webinar, but is in favor of all e-commerce sellers everywhere. But it's called One Stop Shop, and it allows the VAT to be paid at the country of entry, wherever you're selling it across Europe. And each of the tax authorities, in crude terms, each of the tax authorities will handle those things on your behalf. The next things we've got to do as we've launched is to start translating and optimizing your listings for things overseas. If your listings are currently in English, American English or otherwise, they're going to be need to be translated and optimized for each native country that you decide to sell on. So they'll certainly need to be adjusted for the UK market for English UK rather than English US. That's the easy one. Beyond that, they will need to be translated to gain any traction in the German, French, Dutch, Italian, Spanish markets. So you can work your way through your product listings, you can work your way through your meta tags, you can work your way through your A+ content, translate and optimize all of the same things that you're doing at home in terms of your online listings. I missed earlier on a little poll, which I don't know whether was launched, but it'd be interesting to have a look at the poll to see where people are selling at the moment. I should have done this at the beginning. I'm sorry, but we should just launch a poll on where whether or not you're selling beyond Amazon, just to help me when it comes to the questions later on. If you're selling beyond Amazon, whether you're already not in the EU. So. Dave, if you could launch that poll now for the listeners to have a look at, and we'll circle back to that when we get to the Q&A. The next step after we've translated is, after say 6 to 9 months, is to then begin thinking about other platforms, the ones that I've begun. Certainly, each of the country dominant platforms, Cdiscount, Otto, and BOL.com, importantly, possibly Allegro, depending on your products, possibly Wayfair for those sellers who are selling larger products, for instance. That will give you a further large tranche of opportunity, and we're talking in each of these steps, we're talking tens of millions of additional new buyers. So these are really chunky steps into your growth plan. As you begin trading, of course, then after sort of 6 to 9 months, you are going to need to start thinking about your returns. And for eBay, eBay can handle the returns for your damaged or used stock. For Amazon, for FBA returns, your returns that come out of the system would need to go somewhere. So of course, you're thousands of miles from home, as I mentioned before. You're going to need a strategy and a plan for knowing where that's going to go. So right the way through this process, our recommendation is to ship through third-party logistics. We'll touch on all the services that GE can provide from this list, but importantly, GE can provide third-party logistics services in the Netherlands and in the UK to be able to fulfill the UK market from our UK facility and the entire EU facility from our Dutch warehouse. We can do that FBA. We can do that for Amazon. We can do that for other platforms. And of course, we can also, if you set up your own website, we can fulfill your orders B2C directly. If you had, for instance, a WooCommerce or a Shopify site, we can directly fulfill using a link directly into our warehouse management system, the goods through into those directly to the end users. So then you get a fully represented service for both the UK and for the entire EU. Of course, through a third-party logistics provider doing a pick and pack and storage can also then handle your returns and then can grade those returns, decide what to do with them, and either put them onto your eBay store for you, send them back to you if you want to, group them together for bulk sale, whatever you want to do from that point. So you're handled remotely from that point. There's a cost to all these things, of course. If you were to do all of these things within a 1-year process, your investment would be £25,000 to £30,000 if you were fulfilling as well. Most of our clients tend to do it slightly more slowly. As I mentioned, this was a resource unlimited strategy. Some of our clients take longer with the whole process because, of course, you've got busy businesses elsewhere. But this, for us, represents the smartest and fastest route to maximize your opportunities across the European markets. That's a whistle-stop tour, and I'm sure after the webinar today, there'll be lots more questions that you'll want to ask, and we are very happy to answer them. Dave, next slide, please. So, in essence, we've told you the secrets. They're not secrets, but we've expanded the secrets of what it takes to plan your launch. Whether or not anybody ever does it just like that is a different matter. I think we probably have had clients that have done it like that, where they've had strong resources and they've been very well prepared, and they've decided that's what Amazon have wanted. Sorry, that's what their businesses wanted, starting with Amazon and moving on to other platforms. So I think it's not unheard of to do it like that. But most businesses, depending on their products, their resources, and their capacity, do it in a slightly different way. Let's answer some of your questions. Thank you very much for those coming in now. That's these are all really interesting. A question from Drew. Thank you for asking. Do you need to have your label translated into each native language in the EU to enable to sell in those countries? And if so, how do you manage this using Amazon Pan EU? Certain parts of your labels, like your safety instructions and things like that, Drew, yes, you would need to have translated in the countries that you were going to be selling them. Normally, you would handle this at the point of launch by translating into all of your proposed pan-EU countries in one go. Certain items, certain things on your packaging and labels, you don't need to have translated, but certainly safety information, instruction booklets, nutritional information, that kind of stuff does need to. A label compliance check would tell you the minimum amounts of things that you would need to have translated, whether or not that needed to be on the packaging, whether or not that needed to be a sticker that you put over the top. We do a lot of like a peel and seal label that can kind of roll out with different languages on, that just has to be stickered on in one place, whether you put those into your own production runs. So your label compliance check would consider what if anything, needed to be translated. Typically, for goods that are being sold, for instance, in the US, there's generally some changes that have to be made. I mean, just metric, imperial, detail, things like that are very common. And there's certain things that you're allowed to do in, for instance, the US that you're not allowed to do in Europe. Specifically, claims about what's greatest or what something can do, for instance, is a good one. So yes, but in terms of your translations, Drew, that there would be some degree of translation that would be required, and the letter of the law says that it's any country that you might be selling in. For a pan-EU seller on Amazon, typically you would translate into each of the pan-EU languages to fully comply with Amazon's demands on that front. But you would do that in one go so that you could then go and sell in all those countries moving forwards. Thank you. A question from Carlos about the Amazon NL option. I already have Amazon UK and Amazon Germany. Thank you. Use G for taxes and compliance. The products have to be warehoused in the UK. My products can only be accepted by Amazon Germany if the actual physical packaging is in Germany, which is an investment. So if the goods are being stored in in GE's warehouse in the Netherlands, but being fulfilled into Germany, then you've translated your packaging into German. You wouldn't need to translate your packaging into Dutch just to store it in the Netherlands. But if you wanted to sell on Amazon NL, then by the letter of the law, you would need to translate into Dutch. It's a slightly moot point because the Dutch are highly multilingual, and English, virtually all of the time, English is acceptable. But we've heard in both directions that for some products, they appear to be uncompliant without them being in Dutch, and others where English is accepted. So there's no fine, there doesn't appear to be any at the moment for Amazon NL, doesn't appear to be any fine rule on that front, aside from you could perhaps start off with your products in German and English, and then we could then ascertain whether they were compliant to be sold in the Netherlands. Hope that answers your question there. I have a question here regarding the contact person who can act on behalf of us. This is Healing Crystals India. Thank you for getting in touch. Yes, Global eCommerce Experts operates a responsible person service for the UK and for the EU, and can act as the responsible person for products that are sold on e-commerce platforms across those two places. So all of our contact details are at the end, and if you get in touch with us, we can run through the process of compliance and then act as your responsible person for both of those places. Recommendations for, thank you, another question, recommendations for indirect representation. The question says, I've heard exports to France not require this. What are the best options for the EU? That's an interesting point. Up until prior to Brexit, most importation into the EU was being done via the United Kingdom. I say most, predominantly for e-commerce was coming into the United Kingdom, and that stock was then being split out into Europe. The UK was bringing in goods through the customs into the European market directly, where a client had a VAT number. Since Brexit, it's been highlighted that a VAT number isn't enough to allow direct representation and an indirect representative. So a physical entity in that country is required to ensure that proper legal compliance for the tax and import duty is taken locally. So whilst it's still currently possible in some places to import using direct representation through France, these are disappearing daily, because in essence what's happening is that those organizations those customs clearance agents are gradually being advised not to provide that service unless the importer has an address or an entity in that country. As soon as they need to do that, of course, if your VAT number is in your home nation, in the US or in India or wherever you are, then that address needs to reside in the country that they're coming into. So whilst you might have heard some sellers who had been doing that, and still maybe some that are, that's not how it's supposed to be done. And as more and more goods have been brought into Germany, very important, the German customs agents have almost rewritten the book in terms of what the rules should be. We can indeed, GE has its own shipping company and shipping agents and customs clearance agents, and we can help with importing into the into the EU via the Netherlands. So we can certainly put you in touch with, if you get in touch, an agent who can handle the importation into the Netherlands. What's really important here, I'm sorry, there's no name on this question, so I can't address you directly. What's really important is it's quite tricky to find a customs clearance agent that doesn't handle your shipping, because of course most of the customs clearance agents want to be handling the shipping as well, or else it's not a very profitable thing to be doing. So if you've got a shipper at the moment and you're looking for a customs agent and you're struggling, you might just need to change shipping agents or shipping company to mean that then your shipper is handling both the shipping piece and the customs piece. So hope that answers your question. If you, we can certainly put you in touch with someone, but you might find them reluctant to do it if you just want them to do the customs and the importation. Final question from Marie Zamboli. Thank you very much. If planning on the Netherlands, would you only need Dutch? As you were saying, Netherlands could be distributed site for the EU. No, it's the end point, Marie, that you'll need the translations for. So whilst the Netherlands is our suggestion and our absolute recommendation for logistics fulfillment and importation into the EU, the translations you need are for where they're going to get sold. So if you're going to import your goods into the EU via the Netherlands, put them in our facility or another facility in the Netherlands, but then they're going to go FBA into Germany or France, then your translations would need to be in French and in German. It's a very common process to do all the pan-EU all languages in one go and either oversticker or insert into your products. You can even have that done at the 3PL facility, so they can rework and overlabel your existing goods. So then you wouldn't need to, excuse me, you wouldn't need to do that at source. Some sellers, of course, prefer to do that at source and just change the specification. Some sellers prefer to have European specification that just comes to Europe, split between the UK and the EU, and then to their home nation, a different specification. That involves additional SKUs and things from a seller perspective, but certainly means that you get the right look. But there's a myriad of ways of doing it, and GE, of course, can help you within that process. We can check your labels are compliant, and we even offer a design service for those things. So, Dave, do you think you could just back up one slide back to the silver bullet strategy itself, just so I can tell folks? Broadly speaking, GE can help with all of these. Of course, why I'm here. There's lots of other places that do that, but our 6-step pathway is why we consider GE to be a one-stop shop for those expansions. So we can handle your VAT, we can handle your responsible person service, we can handle the shipping and the customs clearance. We can help you get set up onto Amazon, some account management. We can certainly provide translations. We can help you onto other platforms. And of course, and most importantly, we can handle the third-party logistics for you in our Dutch and our UK warehouses. Pick and pack, we can fulfill to end users. You could have a Shopify site based in the US or in India, or whatever e-commerce platform you whatever your own web platform you wanted, you could raise orders, push them automatically into our system, and we'd fulfill them remotely for you, and we could handle your returns. So you see what we mean there by one-stop shop in terms of capacity to expand your business internationally. Thanks, Dave. That's great. Let's move on to the next one. So that's all the questions. I appreciate everybody asking questions on that front. That's I can tell that this is a juicy subject. We're well positioned to help you at any stage in your journey. We have a huge passion and interest in expanding our clients' businesses internationally into the EU. We'd love to help you. You can connect with our different channels here on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. For all those attending today and those that couldn't make it, we'll send a copy of this webinar to you afterwards. If you'd like to get in touch with me, please do drop me an email. I'd like to personally hear from any or all of you to see if we can assist with your journeys, whichever point you're in, even if you're just planning. Or otherwise, the very best of luck with growing into an exciting and fast expanding e-commerce market in the UK, in the EU. So the best of luck, and I hope to see you all again on another episode soon.